Alright, you're gonna have to bear with me here, right? When I was thinking about doing this, I tried to think about any way logically that this could have happened, and the only way to do it was to just fuck things up even more, right?
What happened in our time was the French mutiny and the French revolt never really gotten any steam, as the morale of the French troops at the perfect time was bolstered as the Americans got involved right after the Russians were defeated on the Eastern Front. But what if something was to change? Like, I kick a rock over and, oh no, the Americans don't get involved until mid-1918. Even if the Entente was to win at that point, you have a entirely different time of the French mutinies definitely happening now, and then you have a France that is more battered and broken after the Great War. What does that mean? Civil War. So after 2 to 3 years of the French royalists fighting the French partisans, the French royalists would be defeated, as the majority of the French nation would take the sides of the partisans, otherwise known as the Commune of France. The French royalists would board boats and move to their African colonies, as colonies such as Vietnam and the entirety of the French Indo-Chinese Union would break free. They would have no purpose in staying in France, leading to a now split France between the royalist in exile and the new Commune of France in the mainland. And while taking a look at what we had going for us, we actually had a pretty good amount of railways in the Algiers, I'm not gonna lie. But while we had a really good amount of railways, the number one thing we have to focus on is our naval reforming, as the only way we're gonna get back to the mainland is if we completely reform our navy to be very competent, very determined, and very courageous to get us back to the mainland, because this is going to be an all-hands-on-deck effort. The next thing we're gonna have to focus on is our civilian industry, our economy, as unlike in our timeline, the Great Depression has hit us a lot worse as we are a government in exile now. And with that being said, since we want to rebuild our navy, we are going to have to focus a lot on rebuilding our civilian economy. Now, while expanding my dockyards, I do see that the Spanish Civil War does break out. Now, originally my plan was to sit out of this, let Spain deal with its own conflict, but then I see the Soviets expanding their influence into Spain, and having a Mediterranean owned by the communists is not something I want on my list, so in you go, France! By late 1938, the delegates of both the French Republic in exile and the Italian Kingdom would meet up in Rome to discuss the Mediterranean Pact. As both nations despite the Commune, both of them would be willing to cooperate together to restore the exiled government in Paris once again. Now, something I noticed over this playthrough was that the British kept on trying to buddy up with the Commune, which made me have to buddy up with some less fortunate allies because I did not want to originally align with them, but now it seems my loft is being thrown into their side. And honestly, to my shock, by 1939, the Poles and Germans agreed on a deal, which was very shocking, to say the least. I don't know if the British decided to be like, no, I'm not going to protect you, or what, but yeah, they just agreed to it. Now, what's funny about this is the fact that even though the Poles agreed to the terms, World War II still happens because Germany decides to go after Luxembourg. Thumbs up. The Germans would then declare war on the Commune of France, and shortly after that they would join the Allies, meaning I know who our enemies are. The United Kingdom. And the moment I noticed that the Italians were at war with the United Kingdom, I decided to instantly deploy my 2 African infantry divisions and declare war on the Commune myself. Now, I won't lie, seeing the Germans steamroll the Commune's divisions didn't really give myself much comfort in reclaiming the mainland. However, we had to focus on our own front right now and help the Italians defeat the British in Africa. And even though we only had 2 divisions, these 2 divisions really performed extremely well, as we were able to encircle Alexandria and take it, and then later take Cairo. With the African front finalizing, we can now begin negotiating with the German Reich about re-establishing us back into the French mainland. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the first few attempts at negotiating with the Germans fell through, as the main territory of Alsace-Lorraine would be a very much debated topic between our 2 governments. Now, while our delegates were constantly negotiating with the Germans, our troops would still be pushing into British territory, especially the Middle East, as we would want to assist our Italian allies in solidifying their strongholds over the Mediterranean. Now, by no means was this conquest hard at all. The only reason why it was slow was because we only had 2 divisions able to push, because we only had 2 divisions. But yeah, the British Commonwealth forces just kept on just falling constantly over and over again. Also, Germany for some reason thought it was a fun idea to make all of Eastern Europe its enemy, so that was fun to watch. It wouldn't be too long after when we took over the entirety of the Middle East. We practically were just able to walk into Jerusalem and Jordan, so that was fun. While all this is happening, the United States would fund our war by buying our weapons from us. This would give us more money to divert into making more equipment and also building up more divisions. One of our divisions would get trapped up in Palestine because the Italians just are incompetent and can't follow us for shit. So we would have to begin Operation Kick Teeth in order to free the division and hopefully not lose one of our only 2 divisions. God, please no. Now, thankfully, we are able to free that one division and clear out the rest of the Mediterranean front, all just in time to watch the Commune of France collapse. This would begin our next and final negotiations with the German Reich. And I'm not gonna lie, before the negotiations even started, our navy was kind of getting our ass kicked, right? We lost half of our navy to the British. But finally, it was time to negotiate with the Germans about the situation of our nation. Now, at first, we would try to lobby the fact that we do deserve Alsace-Lorraine, and we would join the Axis faction if they are to give it to us. However, the German delegates told us no. They put their finger in my face and wagged their finger back and forth, telling me that I must be a good little nation and accept their demands or suffer the consequences. And so we relinquished the right to contain Alsace-Lorraine. I say contain? Really? Contain? What is this, the SCP Foundation?
No! Don't let me die. Don't let me die.
No. Let me heal you. Let me heal you. No, you're losing. No.
Danger. Light containment zone. Overall decontamination.
But anyways, besides the point, we're back on the mainland, and I know probably millions of people just now screamed in agony that the French are back. Oh no, help us please. But whatever. And also, we lost so many dudes just trying to get back to the mainland. Oh my god. However, our conflict wasn't over, as we would be trying to sue for peace with the United Kingdom, as there would be no point in us really continuing the fight, as we only wanted to be brought back to the mainland. And so there was only one way to beat them. We nuked them. No, but seriously, the best way to get out of this war was the Soviet Union declaring war on the Allies. As a communist nation within the Allies, now being at war with a communist nation, I would rather think that the Allies would want us as the main France rather than the Commune, who is in exile. That is very much a Stalinist nation. Am I wrong on believing that? Now, while our delegates are in London negotiating a ceasefire with the United Kingdom, the Commune of France having a last-ditch effort of legitimacy in trying to prove themselves as the main France, and also just trying to show some sort of loyalty to the Allies, would attempt to send 200,000 men on boats to France, and would fail miserably, by the way. With the naval invasion failing and the Brits now focused on both the fascists and communists, the United Kingdom would be willing to negotiate with the French Republic for a ceasefire between the two nations, thus ending the conflict between France and the Allies, leading to France being a neutral nation throughout the conflict. Also, I'm sorry that this video is shorter than our normal videos. There was really not much content to really go for when I was just in Africa. So sorry!